Nothing comes easy, and Don's wins certainly don't. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I am your host, Rob, here with you, and joining me in studio is Ryan. Hello, mate.
Hey, Rob. How's things going on this lovely Monday now? Whenever we're going to record this Monday.
Monday night.
Sorry,
Monday night. I'm still thinking about Saturday, so I'm kind of a bit confused about what day it is. Yeah, exactly. We're out of the hotel room and we're back in the studio, which is nice. That was a lot of fun. Thanks to Melbourne Apartment Collection for that. That was fun to do that. But we're back at home in our comfortable studio, which I must say, we're slowly improving on the decor in here. If that's how I say it.
Yeah, decor. It's looking delicious in here with all the Bombers, particularly Job, our Lord and Saviour, in the centre.
Yep. So Job's, we've moved from the 1 kilo hook up to a 2 kilo hook to hold the weight of Job.
I did ask, has it been upgraded, because it was diabolical watching him fall. I'm surprised it's still in one shape, but Job is a sturdy man, and so is his frame.
Yes, exactly. We'll see how we go an hour later from now. A few things behind you. We've heard it before. We've obviously got the Illustrated History of Essendon book, forward by James Hurt, of course. Some Baby Bombers stuff from my son, the Essendon footy there, and then tucked away behind your right shoulder is possibly the greatest piece of merchandise I've ever picked up, which is the David Zaharakis 200 Games mug, which the Bomber Shop gave me for free when I bought something else.
Desperately gave you for free.
Yeah, like, do you want this? And I'm like, absolutely, I do. But to my left, I think we should probably just quickly shout out a couple of the cooler things here. So firstly, this is the Indigenous jersey we'll be wearing for Dreamtime this year.
Looks wonderful.
Looks awesome, I must say. And then up above me, we have the one and only Old Gold piece of memorabilia signed by the great man himself.
Never gets better.
So obviously, big shout out to the Marmalade boys for that. The Essendon, also the Sash Spy network is pretty deep and got my tentacles in a lot of places, and managed to get in touch with the Marmalade guys. And I was like, I reckon you can send that this way for the set. And they said, we'd absolutely love to. So big shout out to Checkers and Sray for sorting that out. Obviously, the journey's fantastic, but I think Old Gold's going to live up here for a while. So.
No matter how long he stays at the club, that will remain. That is an absolute treasure for the Sash. And he's never looked... Probably never looked older than that picture there as well, I got to admit. It's a pretty hard 35 years, but love Goldie. Gotta love Goldie. He's probably one of my positives to come out of the game, even though he struggled towards the end. But gotta love Todd Goldstein, and hopefully see a lot more of him by the end of the year.
Definitely. Let's get stuck into it. Talk about the game. Interesting place I think we should start is the fact that we are currently sitting, who would have thought, 9th on the ladder. 5 wins, 3 losses.
One aborted
game, which we'll come back to later in the season. They're obviously discussing when that's going to play, but it's pretty special, and it's pretty nice that we're in this nice part of the year where things are looking pretty good right now, and it's a nice feeling to have, Ryan.
It's really bizarre because obviously we started the season. I remember in the second preview we did for the season, it was myself and Mert, and we were both very, very cautious about what was to be Essendon seasons.
Cautious or pessimistic?
Pessimistic. Well, Mert definitely was the realist.
Yes,
he could see the darkness coming. I was very comfortable thinking we're probably going to be a bottom 4 side. You looked at the age demographic, you saw what was coming, particularly in those early rounds. I mean, Melbourne looked like a harder task, and you definitely didn't think the Swans were going to be the W that we had on the weekend. So it did look a little bit nastier. To be 5-3 and be a game behind everyone else is really just a good spot to be in. Obviously, knowing that the next batch is equally challenging. Yep. We've got some possible wins. I mean, this week against the Dogs has pain written all over it, but 5-3 is a nice, confident place to be, considering we've all accepted it's a rebuild.
Yes.
And we know that the team is really young. I mean, you said something in the in one of our chats about how young this team is, and it's nearly circa, what was it, 2016, 2017?
Yeah, one of our listeners sort of sent in a comparison. It was basically the average sort of age profile of the team in 2016 versus now. And that side in 2016 was older, more experience. Obviously, because, we were carrying a few, let's face it, washed up players.
The mighty Ryan Crowley.
Who were just, the GOAT Ryan Crowley, Essendon favourite Ryan Crowley. I can't, how dare I slander him. So I think that may have skewed it a little bit, but also we were putting games into people who probably wouldn't have played much footy if we had a full list available, whether that be a Darcy Parish, maybe even a Zach Merritt, McDonald Tipper-Moody. There were a lot of guys who just got games in that season. Because of the circumstance. So you're right. It's a really young team. We're starting to see growth. I'm happy because, even though post the Adelaide game, I did think it was all doom and gloom, but I'm feeling justified having said pre-season that I don't think we'll get much worse. It's just how much better we can get. And so far, we're sitting ninth, which is where I tipped us to finish. So if the season ended today...
Rob's on top.
I'm right, which is all that matters. But look, there's still more games to play than we have played so far. And as we learnt last season, that despite being, second or third in round 17...
Don't worry about it.
The arse can well and truly fall off.
Oh, look, we've lost our arse multiple times. And the last 2 years in particular, the arse has fallen out in spectacular fashion. I think the good thing about this year is there is no way we can get ahead of ourselves. Fundamentally, I think the way that the fixture's set up and the way the team's playing, there's no way we're going to be in a similar good shape. So we can't get ahead of ourselves. We just simply can't. We should have learned by now. But I think the best thing so far is the fact that we're winning, but we're not sacrificing kids. We're playing them all. We're playing everyone we kind of want to play. Day Wicks on the weekend, Lewis Hayes. Obviously, as the Americans would say, thoughts and prayers.
Yep.
We're playing with a really young team, and we're getting relatively good results out of them. So that's the big win for me.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like we've had many examples of a player coming in and looking totally out of the game.
Yeah, true.
Even, obviously there'll be passages in the game where they might be quiet, but when their chance has been there and they've had the footy or they're near the footy, they've been doing the right things.
Yeah.
And, we do always sit here and bemoan and be like, oh, why doesn't this kid get a game? Why doesn't this kid get a game? Well, sometimes it's to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
And, if it is that extra time in the VFL to really, really earn your spot, that when you get the chance, you're actually ready to play.
Yeah.
And I can't really think of much times this year, if any, where a player has come in and just looked, too early.
100%.
It hasn't happened yet. So it's great. We're obviously very happy. Let's get stuck into the game. Let's talk some goods. And I've obviously just got to talk about my man off the top.
He is officially your man too.
Zach Reid. We've been on him since day dot. It's funny how for so many years now I've sat on this show being like, I was told he was the best one.
Yep.
Everyone, they told me, they're like, hey, we reckon he's really good.
Specifically to you.
Really good. Yeah, no one else. Just this random nuffy was like, hey, is that guy any good? Like, yeah, he's really good. No, but it's awesome to see him just building every week. Obviously, a very shaky start at the start of the season, finding his feet, finding the tempo of the game. And look, this was just a really, really great day for him. Yes, albeit against a pretty weak Sydney forward line. But he took it in spades, and he just looks so elegant in the way he plays footy. Yeah. Not only getting the ball, but then using the ball. Nick Martin said in an interview in this very studio, not on our show, but another show right in this room, that he's one of the best kicks at the club, and he's showing that. He
is, and there was a particular moment, I think it might have been in the second quarter, he got, and I think you mentioned it in the post-game review, which was he had the ball around the halfback line and he absolutely bombed it out to the far wing, and I think it got to Al Hawley. It was so clean and it was just almost effortless. He doesn't even look like he's putting a lot of effort in. He's really quite a remarkable sort of specimen when you look at him. Facially he looks like an accountant, but he's 6'7". And he just, as you said, he's very, very elegant in the air. He kind of reminds me of like a sort of like almost a little bit, and this sounds really like I'm pumping him up too much, but a really like clean Fletcher. The way he goes up for marks, he goes up and he clunks them. The point, and he just looks really good. And I know that I've certainly been, I was definitely concerned about him after that Adelaide game because he did look so out of sort of kind of lost, and I guess most of the team did that day. Yep. But since that point, it was almost like a turning point for him. He's totally become the player that everyone at the club, as you said, has been telling us, trust us, if we can get him fit, he is going to be an absolute centerpiece of that back line. And I think, one of the things that kind of gets lost is how, when he's playing really well, how he frees a guy like Ben Mackay to just focus on being locked down on whoever he's given.
Yep.
And, one of the saddest things, obviously, in the last 2 weeks has been, obviously, when Jordan Ridley went down, it was sad to see him go down because I think that they had connected so well together. And now seeing Lewis Hayes, who was looking great and he looked like he was ready to go, to see him go down, I was really looking forward to seeing what he and Reid could potentially have made as a partnership. But look, touch every bit of wood you can find. Let's just pray he stays healthy because I can't fathom what he looks like after 50 games.
Yeah, exactly. I listened to a bit of radio this morning, and Nathan Buckley was talking about him, and he was basically like, he's basically like Jordan Ridley, but he's over 2 meters tall. Yeah. Which is just this incredible asset. Like, he's a monster. Like, he's basically the size of a ruckman, as we saw in that one game where he had to go pinch hit. So look, it's fantastic. We're really, really hyped about him. Again, his KPI every week is just to get through the game unscathed, and he's doing that. There was actually there was a big hit in front of us, if you recall. We're out for a mark, and I can't remember which Sydney player it was, but a good marking contest, a good clash bodies hit, and we were like, ooh, and just up he got and ran off, and I was like, oh.
There wasn't.
I was worried for a minute.
There really was an audible gasp when it happened because I think it was only maybe 5 to 10 minutes after what had happened to Lewis Hayes. And so I think everyone was fearing the worst because it was a really loud crash. But look, he looks more resilient. Just for stats wise, 27 disposals, 85% efficiency.
Which we love.
Can't go wrong there. 14 marks, including 8 intercepts. And I think 4 of the intercepts came in about the first quarter. And we were looking at the record. What was it? 10 intercepts is the record that no one seems to be able to break?
Yeah, something like that. I think it's 10 intercept marks, or maybe it's 11. But anyway, there's a number where there's like almost 10 different players who all on that same number.
Just can't break it.
For the record intercept marks. So maybe Zach Reid's the man to do it one day.
Oh, well, one could hope so. But let's hope the ball stops going down the back line so much.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to work as hard, because the next guy I want to talk about is also part of the back line. And again, much maligned. And I think fairly so for a large swathes of his career. Andy McGrath, I felt that he was the absolute engine of that back line on the weekend. What I found really exciting, aside from the fact that he racked up 35 disposals at 80% efficiency, which is, the disposals is one thing, but the efficiency is another thing that's really great. He had 11 marks, but what I loved was at any opportunity he had to play on, he did. He didn't muck around. He really was the guy that kept saying, let's go, let's go. Particularly in that first half, where I felt like our speed was one of our best assets. He was one of the guys that was really making sure we took every advantage we had. And I kind of just think that it was also a really good, as a vice captain, and obviously what the club thinks is a future leader of the club. It was great to see him, he's always been a good leader from what we've heard around the club. To see him also just have a really stellar game, that was just nice.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's had a really, really good month of footy, and it's nice to see him playing to his potential, because we see good games here and there for him, but it's often a good game and then a month of average games and then a couple of good games. But he's really had a solid month. And this is what you want. This is what you want out of a vice captain. This is what you want out of a number 1 draft pick, is just to be a reliably good player week in, week out. You don't have to have those crazy highs, but if we know you're going to do the job every week, that's it. His defensive work, we obviously know, is fantastic. It is all about what he does with the ball. And this week, he was definitely, more composed than he has been in the past. So big tick from me. God, who do I talk about next? There's so many options.
It is actually phenomenal, considering we had that last half it has, soured it for a lot of Essendon fans. But it is pretty much, for me, mostly positives. And I think the backline in general, and I think the club has really promoted it on their socials, that the backline was one of the key components to that win. And then maybe that's one of the reasons why Andy has been able to, put together some better football this year and more consistently.
He's got better guys around him.
He's got better guys around him. And, aside from, and again, injuries is always going to be a talking point with the club, but, Ben Mackay, Redmond, even Pryor,
Pryor was really good.
Pryor is one of those guys that I do have in my goods, but these guys are now starting to put a good block of football together as a crew, and I think they're starting to understand each other better, and the best teams do.
Yeah, there was. Usually, I don't consume that much footy media before this show. Sometimes it's just because I'm busy. But there is parts I like to come into doing this show and give my thoughts rather than just going, this is what David King said, or this is what Buck said, or whoever. But sometimes I'm like, because I'm feeling good, I just have to watch stuff. Yeah. This was one of those weeks where I did tune into a bit of stuff, and a lot of the discussion was about the improvement of our defensive profile, which is not something that anyone has said about Essendon for God knows how long.
It's not our strong suit.
And, First Crack spoke about it. Bucks this morning was speaking about it. So since round 4, average points against, we are rated third best in the comp, 73. Now, yes, there is a caveat of the teams that we have played in that period. We've obviously played Collingwood, who are very, very good, but, we've played an undermanned Sydney, we've played North, we've played West Coast. So that is the sort of caveat to this, and this week, I think, is one of the real big tests for Essendon, and to see whether this growth we've seen over the past 6 weeks is really there, or have we just been beating teams that we should be beating because they're not in good form? Because the Doggies look like one of the best offensive teams in the comp right now. It is going to be a real challenge for us, considering the team we've still got available and how young we are. If we are able to either beat the Doggies or at least keep them to a relatively low score, I think then we can start to say, okay, there is genuine improvement in this area for us.
Oh, 100%. I mean, one of the best things about the opportunity that these young guys have had is I don't actually think that they have a huge amount of I don't think they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves, to be honest. I think they are aware that every week they're going in as the underdogs. And, I think Brad Scott, he does feel like a very pragmatic sort of coach. He just keeps it real, keeps it simple. And I think he would just be telling them do the same thing. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And I definitely think over the weekend, you saw in that second half, that youth profile that we've got, it did come to the fore because they did seem to get a little bit frazzled because obviously we did have such a good lead. But thankfully it was enough. But look, I mean, the Dogs, watching that game, I did particularly watch the last quarter, the Suns Dogs. I mean, you look at that and you go, geez, I'm glad we didn't play the Suns in round 1.
Yeah.
And you do look at the Dogs and you go, geez, I can't believe we're going to play them next. And I was just praying for injuries, but you just don't get any. But one of the best things that we've got going for us is they're coming back from Darwin, and historically teams that come back from Darwin are fatigued. Yep. And I can only pray that, maybe a bit of gastro hits them or something like that, just put them in the back. But look, I'm really looking forward to it. I just hope it's not another Adelaide. I don't think it will be, but I also think it could be more akin to maybe the Anzac Day game where we're there then we just can't finish it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do just despite the history we have of the Bulldogs shellacking us, which we know, the win over them last year, I do think was. I almost think it was the best game we played last season.
Oh, easily.
There was just that period where we just strangled them out of the game, and I was like, this doesn't feel like Essendon. And that was a really big moment for me last season. I know a lot of people spoke about that. So if we can see some more of that on the weekend, I'll be pretty happy. Look, if any parents with kids in daycare want to just go hang around the Whitten Oval and cough and, put snot on things, maybe we'll hopefully, Bont can't play this week. Oh no, that might help. But look, we've just come off playing a very undermanned team. Let's beat a good team with a healthy list. That's the test. That's when you start to go, okay, there's really something here if you can do that.
Let's not underestimate our win over North now, considering that they drew with Brisbane in Hobart. I mean that's a big win for me.
By that metric, we'll beat the Lions.
Wait, 100%. Isn't that the logic?
Isn't that the logic?
And we're only playing.
And we're going to beat the Giants because Sydney beat the Giants and we beat Sydney. Oh,
we're only playing Brisbane up at the Gabba this year. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's not too hard.
No big deal. Back to Saturday. Yeah. It's too hard to pick players to talk about. I think we should probably talk about Nick Martin because he has had he's had an up and down year. I think he's had some really good moments and then some games where he's kind of disappeared, but he was just in everything this week. And I think was definitely sitting back a little bit more at times, but just floating from forward to back, just wherever he needed to be, used it so well, was able to link up with players, just get involved in everything. And, you know, I probably had Zach as Reid as one of my best, but I think Nick Martin might have been best on ground. Yeah,
it's funny with Nick Martin. I think that he's only been at the club for a short period of time, but I feel that we do underappreciate the output he puts out. I mean, he had 38 disposals, 76% efficiency, 5 tackles and 4 score involvements, and you kind of go, yeah, that's about Nick Martin.
Sounds about right.
You know, because he is one of those players that when he goes forward, he can kick a couple of goals, but he just does a lot of the small. He's a link in so many chains.
Yeah.
I think his disposal is obviously because he gets so much of the ball, it can be questionable at times. But I think this is his pinnacle sort of game. What I think is his best version of him is that free-flowing guy that he can just pop up because he's a little bit taller too.
Yep.
He can make some good options, for good marks in the middle of the ground. I think he's got a really good. He's really good with his decision making most of the time. I just looked. I remember watching the game back and just kind of going, yeah, but that's kind of what Nick Martin does, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of silky, smooth, and he's a good distributor. He's always got it. I just kind of feel like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I underappreciate him, but that was a great game, yeah, and he's definitely in the top 3 votes.
Yeah, I think so. Just set up a lot of stuff, a lot of score involvements, goals, assists, that kind of thing. It was funny the uproar of the decision that we got of him late in the game. The dangerous tackle that was called, which I'll be honest, like I thought it was a ball up. Like it was a ball up, and then suddenly I was like, "Oh, we've got the ball." Okay, like. Well, I didn't think it was a dangerous tackle.
No, I did because I'd gone full nuffy by that point. So I remember, and it was at the furthest point from us, and I remember vividly when he went down, I just went, that's a dangerous tackle, and then they actually called it, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Because I'd gone full nuffy. I didn't think it was actually anything contentious. Then you watch it back and go, oh, that was pretty lucky, that one.
Yeah, it was nice to be on the end of a decision like that with Sydney because I feel like there's a real history between these clubs of these real, they're not the best looking games of footy, but then they come down to the wire, they're pretty close in the end. And I feel like we've been on the bad end of a lot of these games. So it was very nice for that to go our way. And, a little bit of, hey guys, cop that,
If they ever complain.
We've had plenty of those at the SCG. So.
If the Swans ever complain, just remember it took them 3 days to get Dane Rampy off the pole.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's just relax and just realise that you owe us one. So I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, we'll square that up.
Can I go on to our second Rising Star nominee of the year as another good, Nate Caddy. This is his second nomination and our second Don for the year, which is always a great sign for a club.
I'm hearing that like second nomination in that kind of like, catwalk voice. It's like, this is Nate Caddy. This is his second nomination. Second nomination. Sorry, keep going. Yep.
No. Hey, I can sit here for a while if you want to continue.
Yeah. I was up about 4 times last night between 11 and 5 in the morning. So I have not slept much today. And I'm noticing that the sentences in my brain aren't quite starting to come out. So if I do start to just trail off into really weird areas, I'm very tired.
Well, see, I was up 3 times last night and you'd think it's because I have a newborn. It wasn't. I've just got 2 cats that are absolute assholes and they keep waking me up for food at like 3 a.m. And I mean, I ran out of pillows by the end of the night throwing it at him. But Nate Caddy, let's focus.
Nate Caddy kept waking me up. I was like, I got to watch his highlights.
Oh my God, it was good though.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Hearing him described by James Hurd as Jeremy Cameron-esque on whatever that show he's on was very exciting. And it was a great game. It was one of those games that he probably put together the best parts of his game, which is obviously really great in the air. He can run back with the ball and take a nice mark, and he did that about 3 times. He gets up the ground. He covers a lot of space. It was just, I think it was probably was his best game in his short career. 3 goals, 7 marks, 3 tackles, 16 disposals. He was a bit like Nick Martin. I kind of felt like he was everywhere, and there was that particular moment. I think it was on our side at the time, so the non-Marvel sign wing, and he pretty much, I don't know what went through his head. He grabbed the ball. He just went through about 3 or 4 Swans players. The ball didn't go where we wanted it to, but it was nice to see he had the confidence to take them on.
Yeah, had some really, really good moments. Obviously, the chase down tackle being one, but yeah, really starting to see I spoke about it a bit on Saturday, like trying to repeat myself too much from them, but seeing that other side to his game that's not just forward craft. Yeah. It's just the ability to run up and back. And there's obviously a lot of highlights shown last couple of days in the footy media about it. And, comparisons to some pretty big names in the forward stakes, a couple of Coleman medalists from Carlton and Geelong. Just keep on doing what you're doing, Nate Dogg. Where do we go from here? Do you have any more goods? I mean, I got heaps of goods.
I had heaps of goods. I mean, I could throw you Jackson Pryor having a 23 disposal game with 87% efficiency. He was just so steady, and I think he was so good considering the side's so young. Having a guy, granted, he's not that much older than them, but he's been at a good club up in Brisbane. He just looked really mature out there. That was great to see.
Duz was good.
Yeah,
Setters was good.
Setters was another great one. He gets a little bit overlooked because, he just does little things, 8 tackles, mate. Yeah. He's always up there. Yeah. He's always at the top 3 in the team every time with those tackles. And, as blue collar as you could get with him. I even thought Ben Mackay I thought that was one of his better games for the club.
It was. And look, I think, he needs a bit of confidence, I think, in his footy.
Yeah.
And, playing on 2 key forwards who are definitely VFL standard, or at least one of them should probably be playing in the back line. I think that helps. I think it helps to, in a sense, get a bit of an easy kill for an opponent to be like, okay, look, one of these blokes wouldn't be in this side if they had the guys there, and the other guy's played as a defender his whole career. I should be winning here. And he did very comfortably. Now it's about, all right, now you're going to probably play on a much better opposition next week, in the coming weeks. Bring that confidence with you. Bring that belief that, okay, I beat up on one guy. Let's try and beat up on another guy.
It is such a big jump, though, from that Sydney forward line to what the Dogs have got.
Yeah.
That is striking when he gets to Marvel.
Aaron Francis, Aaron Norton. It is pretty similar.
You mentioned the man. Aaron Francis is one of my goods.
Yeah.
Because
once a bomber, always a bomber.
Once a bomber, always a bomber.
You're one of ours, mate. We'll never forget. You're always one of ours.
I think it's really, really important to explain how hard it was to miss that goal. The degree of difficulty to miss, standing in the goal square less than a metre out, to miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's magic.
It is magic.
That's magic.
Genuine magic.
And, he's definitely not going to get a father's son if he ever has any children. But that's going to go down at Essendon folklore, because he did us a huge favour by missing that.
Yeah.
And he celebrated too.
He celebrated too, because he probably thought it went in, but
that was so funny.
Yeah, that was
it was so funny.
It was very funny. It was very funny because we were so deflated that Aaron Francis was running into goal, and then just the realization, everyone's like, you see people be like, he missed it, like everyone in the crowd. No, couldn't believe it. But we love you, Frank. We love you, mate.
Forever and ever.
Forever a Don, mate. We'll never forget you. Let's get into some negatives.
Sure.
And just whatever's going on with the anterior cruciate ligaments at the hanger at the moment. That is number 3 for the season. Yeah. Lewis Hayes on debut of all. Gutted.
Yeah.
And because he looked pretty sound. Like, he looked comfortable. Like, he had a couple of flaky moments here or there, but, like, he looked sound. And then just the Essendon gods just came in and went, nope.
I think it's so true when you said, so the club had said during the week, we think he's ready. And you spoke earlier about, guys not coming in until they were ready, getting to the level and knowing that they should be there. He definitely was emblematic of that on the weekend because, he was really building into the game. He did look comfortable. He was great below his knees. He had a little bit of silk to him. He's just looking out there, seeing him out there with that hair. I was like, geez, Dustin Fletcher's back. It's so sad, I mean, he had already 16 disposals by the time he went off, 3 marks, 2 tackles. He just looked very comfortable. It's just such a bummer. And it's not something that I think you can really... there's no one really to blame. ACLs are not something you can really point at the physios doing something wrong. Or
Marvel Stadium, can we blame them? I don't know.
Well, so where have they...
We need a scapegoat.
So where have we done them? So
Adelaide Oval, Marvel Stadium, and then at training, at the hangar. So there's no thread here between the three. But
we will work on the conspiracy theory.
Yes, we will blame something.
But yes, it is just such terrible bad luck, and I feel for the kid because he was looking down the barrel of 8 solid weeks. While Ridley's out, he was looking at 8 weeks in the ones.
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
He could have worked his way into it.
Yeah.
It's just so sad to see, and obviously, the kind of the end of we're getting really towards the end of the defenders we have available.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking like Laverty has to be picked this
Labs
week.
Gaming, baby. Oh, here we go.
Put the mouse down, champ.
360 no-scope headshots every week. I can't wait.
But that definitely is the biggest negative of the weekend.
At least, I'd like to think at least the chat in the rehab group's going to be pretty good now because there's a few blokes in the rehab group for like a year now.
No one's lonely.
Like Drapes, Bryza, Tommy Edwards, and Lewis Hayes.
All huge.
Just 4 big blokes just going to be hanging out in the rehab group all year long.
They're just gigantic dudes too. I mean, it's just, could you imagine what the team would look like if we had, you got to ask the question, what the hell does the team look like if you actually had Ridley and Drapes and Brian and all of them still fit? I mean...
Well, Goldstein wouldn't be playing.
Goldstein wouldn't be playing. Peter Wright couldn't.
Well...
Otherwise, we're way too tall.
Yeah, no, someone would have had to have come out. Like, somewhere along the line, someone's going to have had a bad game.
Yep.
And someone in the VFL is going to have an absolute blinder and they're going to come in. Because I think, and, we spoke about Nate Caddy getting his second Rising Star. Nate Caddy plays better when Peter's there.
Yes, he does.
Because Peter commands the number 1 defender.
Yep.
And it sort of opens things up. An interesting thing to talk about, I sort of noticed throughout the game was that depending on certain players starting positions, but Kyle Langford spent a fair bit of time starting on the wing.
Yes, he did.
And was playing a little bit sort of wing. And then as a bit of time would progress, it would sort of drift forward. Obviously, when Peter was in the ruck, he'd play forward as well. But they clearly sort of identified that we can't just have Langers, Cads, Pete, and Perkins all in there. So this was sort of a way of doing that. And Langford's a very smart footballer, as we know, and was able to make good space. But that was something I was sort of watching during the game. Yeah. I was sort of like, where is Kyle Langford running? And he was just, he'd stay on the wing for a bit. And then suddenly there was a little call, and then someone else would kind of move there and he'd drift forward. But yeah, interesting one.
Quite selfless of him to pretty much sacrifice his game for the betterment of the younger guys, and that seems to have been a bit of a theme at the club this year. Zach Merritt obviously talking about, I'll be moving out of the centre from time to time when those young guys need to run through. And we saw him when he was getting literally 2 swans on him at all times. Yeah. They just went, he's all right, I'll just go down to the forward line and then you guys will be 1 short. And quite selfless from a lot of the older guys in the team, which is really nice to see. It just seems like ego isn't a big factor for a lot of the older guys. And that's great to see, and that's good for the young guys to see that. I think that'll be good for culture.
Yeah, I think so as well. Another sort of bad to talk about, and again, we touched on it briefly on our Saturday show, but 2 games in a row where after halftime we've only kicked 2 goals. Yep. Obviously this week we didn't kick a goal in the final term. Thankfully, the Swans were pretty inaccurate in their opportunities they had. Some were pretty low percentage, but there were some where they probably should have kicked a goal. How do we read into this? Because you can go, okay, half-time, the opposition to make changes and they get on top. Young players not sure how to close out a game, put teams away. Maybe there's a few players who are, lumbering and, struggling later in the game, particularly the old Gold, for example. Or is this a sort of coaching thing where they go, okay, we're now going to try and defend this lead, and that's the mentality because we are a learning team and we're developing lots of learnings. Is that the way we're looking at it? Is it all of these or is it none of these? Because I generally like to hear people's opinions on this because I'm sure throughout our listenership and some of the other Dons shows that are around as well, everyone might have a little theory as to what they're seeing from here because there's a lot of possibilities here.
Look, I actually think the first three things you mentioned, for me, they kind of feel the truest behind this. So obviously it's a very young team.
Yeah.
So with that comes the inexperience and that lack of knowledge and experience to be able to go, I know how to close this out.
Yep.
Being able to read the tempo of the game. There were times where you just prayed that they just slow down a minute, take a little bit of time off the clock, possess the ball a bit.
Yeah.
We'd been so helter-skelter for large swathes of that first half that I think that they just didn't quite know. I think another key point is, and I think I mentioned it Saturday after the game, was I do believe we're a bit of a one-dimensional team in regards to our style of play at the moment, and that's okay. That's a young team, and maybe that's something that they will build as the team progresses. But I do think it's pretty obvious the Swans could have come out and gone, all right, guys, they're doing X, Y, Z, and they're cutting you open every single time.
Stop that.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing? Don't do that anymore.
Don't do that again. And, you saw them come out, and I think the third thing, and it really pretty much kind of pairs perfectly. It's almost like 1A, 1B, is that we did look absolutely gassed in that, particularly in that last quarter.
Yeah.
It was very evident that I think to this point still we probably still don't have the stamina to be a four-quarter team. You saw them really, as you were saying, there were quite a few guys lagging behind their opposition in that last quarter. So I think those 3 points are it, but I really think it's just the age. In 2 years' time, this probably isn't an issue.
Yeah, there was someone made a comment on, I think, on our YouTube, and it was a good point. Is that often what is happening late in this game, particularly the last 2 weeks, is that Goldie is getting tired. The opposition ruckman starts to really affect the game. Obviously, Cherry Jerry last week was just dominant.
Yep.
Granted, he was still really, really good in late stages of that game and really started to take control. And then the sort of flow-on effect is that the mids start to lose a bit more, and then it makes it harder for the defenders. Yeah. And that's sort of a cascading effect where it's just like, all right, one guy's starting to falter and then the next group of guys starting to falter, and it's sort of happening from there. So,
I mean, Chad Warner only woke up at halftime.
Yeah.
He was nowhere in that first half, much to some people's chagrin in the crowd. But he genuinely just went, all right.
He's like, oh, we need to win this. I'll do it.
Yeah. And he's
the kind of player who goes, okay, I'll do it, guys. I'll win this the game.
Yeah, I think
Chad Warner and I'm a gun.
I think we saw him for four or five moments in that first half. In the second half, it was just like every second time a Swan had the ball, it was goddamn Chad Warner, which is to be expected. But, I was kind of hoping he'd have it off whole game, not just half game. Yeah. But yeah, I think, it's just something that we're going to grow into, hopefully, and if this team gets to stay together, they'll understand it.
Yeah, I guess the worry for me is that 2 games against poorer opposition where we've had the nice healthy lead. I just look, it'd be amazing if it happened, but I can't envision us being 40 points up against the Dogs. I can't envision us being 40 points up against the Lions or Carlton or Geelong.
Yeah.
These teams that we're coming up against. I don't see that happening. So I guess my concern is that, all right, maybe we'll be in the hunt and it's half time. And then it just goes the total other way, and then suddenly we lose by 30, 40 plus. That's my worry.
And that's what we saw with the game against the Pies on Anzac Day. It's so similar that that last quarter we just couldn't hold with them. It was like we were just surviving. But yeah, no, I do agree. It is definitely a worry. And those 3 or 4 games, they have 30, 40 point losses as a minimum written on them to start off with if we don't figure out a way to curtail these issues. But look, I'd be shocked if it's not being discussed at the club right now. And I'd be surprised if, they weren't sitting back going, hey, that keeps happening. Do you reckon we want to have a chat about that? I really hope Brad Scott's going, no, we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We'll figure that out later.
Don't worry about it. We'll do it on the day, mate. I don't do rehearsals. I don't do them. I'll do it on the day. I reckon we should do some votes.
Yeah, 100%.
Sash Fan Player of the Year Award brought to you by Waxit Car Care. You can find the best car care products at waxit.com.au. I really do need some. My car is an abomination at the moment. Get in there. Nicknamed the brothel. There we go. Use the link in the episode description for 10% off. Obviously got some great stuff there on the website. All right, Sash Fan Player of the Year Award. Now, interesting votes here because top 4, lots of votes, and then there was a big gap to who came 5th and got the 1, and then it really sort of trailed off there. So 1 vote, he did some pretty good things and kicked some valuable goals, but Zach Merritt got 1 vote from the faithful. Okay. Still hasn't missed a week, has he? No, I think he's missed. I think he's missed a couple. Hold on, let me just get it up. I was looking at it earlier today. I was just double checking. How's it all going? I thought he had not missed one. Nah, he definitely has. It may have been, but I think he does deserve that 1 vote because he was critical at moments, particularly in that forward line. Those, obviously his 2 goals were just so clean, but he definitely deserves it. No, you're right. He hasn't missed a single one. He got 1 vote in round 6. Every other, he's polled best on 4 times. Rob, I'm deeply obsessed with this voting system, so don't you forget it. Let's be honest. This is the most important award in the AFL, as we clearly understand. Well, they definitely they never treat him right on Brownlow night, so this is where he gets his flowers. This is where he gets it. All right, so 1 vote to Zachy Merritt. Played a great game, kicked some vital goals. Proved that he doesn't need to have 35 touches to influence a game in a positive manner. Big time. 2 votes. Nate Caddy, first time getting on the vote sheet. So very, very happy. Oh, sorry, second time. My mistake. Second time. It did seem surprising. Ignore me. I'm tired. Look, he's improving. He got 1 vote in round 7. Now he's getting 2 votes. Next time will be 3 votes. With 3 votes, a man who's put together a very good month and has polled in 3 out of the last 4 games, Andrew McGrath. Yep. 4 votes. Could have been best on, but I think the faithful went for someone else, but Nick Martin got 4 votes, which means could only be Mr. Zach Reid himself takes home the 5. So we talk about form of players, and obviously the Sash Fan Player of the Year Award is the best way to gauge form, as we know. Last 3 games, Zach Reid has polled 4 votes, 2 votes, and then 5. Obviously McGrath, he's polled 3, 2 in round 7, 2 the week before. Nick Martin's featured a few times recently. So there's a group of guys who are starting to get some stuff together, starting to get a bit of form. Obviously does poll in the last 2 games, didn't poll in this one. And he could have. He still had a solid game. Yep. Great mark. That mark was unbelievable. It's a shame he didn't kick the goal because I think plays would have gone nuts. Oh, I think that, if he kicks that, maybe we don't win by just 8 points. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's Essendon, as we know. So thanks, everyone, for voting. Always a bit of fun to do this and decide who is going to come second to Zach Merritt, because that's really what this award is all about. Who's going to come second? But thank you, everyone, for doing that. Ryan, do you have anything else before we take a break and do some hot takes? I think we're ready for hot takes. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back after this. This halftime break is brought to you by the Ticket Merchant for the 2025 AFL season. Whether you're looking for tickets to Essendon matches or you want to catch a concert, comedy show, maybe you want to take mum somewhere for Mother's Day, the Ticket Merchant has you covered. Head to theticketmerchant.com.au to explore their massive range of tickets. We'll be back after this.
Thanks, Rob. It's that time of the week where we get some totally rational and well-adjusted opinions onto the pod. On the Sash, it's Hot Takes.
Can I just say, for anyone that's watching on YouTube, I'm so sorry for my attempt at dancing then. It's really evident why I struggled with women in my younger days. And And anytime I thought I was doing really well at Q-Bar, I'm so sorry.
Oh, wow. Q-Bar, that takes me back.
Yeah, dark times.
Wow. All right. Thank you, everyone who sent them through. Lots this week. Yeah, I'm going to try and mix it up a bit and play some different ones, which will be a bit of fun. But thank you, everyone who contributed. We love you all. Can't play them all. Let's just get into it. This is Speed on the Wing.
Yeah, boys. That's the sound of fucking Jesse's cart horse getting put in stables. Reid's got 20 at the half. Does his crashing packs like fucking G-Train. Nick Martin has eyes in the back of his head, and Caddy is a fucking springbok. Boy, he's got fucking springs in his legs. Goes down, he gets up. He gets up like the Dons. Let's go!
Love that.
I love somebody who sends a hot take in at halftime. Big energy on that.
I love the horse sounds. That's as good as it gets.
This is Stop Yelling at Me, Devon.
All right, boys, minimal swearing in this one. We got over the Eagles. We got shellacked by Collingwood. We just got over the line with North, and we stuck it to Sydney. If this were a Goodwin era, if this were a Worsfold era, the last month would be 4 out of 4 losses. I'm taken away from today's game and this last month that there is a turnaround, not only in our defence, but in our ability to hold out games. My question to you is that, one, can we keep this out throughout the year? And two, if we can, where does this leave us at the end of the year in terms of trades? Yeah, we got quite a few draft picks up our sleeves and a bit of capital, but if we manage to hold out games and win them by less than a goal, less than 10 points, which we've not been able to do in the past, does that make Essendon a more attractive place to be because we are actually changing under our new Scott leader? Keen to hear what you think.
Interesting question, that one.
It's a great question.
Interesting question. Like, look, I expect Essendon to be active in the off-season window. Now, I don't expect us to, be selling the farm, but I do expect us to be active. I know early on in the season, maybe even pre-season, when the Harley Reid discussion was happening on the show, I said that for me, it really depends where we finish as to how hard I want to see us go for players at other clubs. Because if we did finish bottom 4, keep the picks.
100%.
If we finish just outside the 8 or we play finals, okay, let's talk about maybe getting someone who's a bit more ready-made, has a couple of years in the system. So, but look, I think he's right. Like, people want to go to clubs that win and things are going well. If we are going well, it's going to attract players. We obviously do a lot of good things, and the AFL has given us things that make us attractive, big fixtures and all that. Obviously, we've got a great base and a great fan base as well. So, we've just got to win some games.
I think it's going to be really interesting. And I love that question because I really hadn't thought about it. I think I was still in the sort of the bubble that, we're shit. But I do love the question. And I think just depending on what we do at the end of the year, it will really be eye-opening to know where. That'll tell us where the club thinks they're at.
Yeah.
If Rosa goes to the draft and says, we're taking Melbourne's pick, another loss, delicious, and we take our pick, which could be anywhere from probably a top 8 pick at least. I think if we take that to the draft, then they know that they're going, okay, we're going the long haul. But if they put both of those on the table and potentially something in the future, then it means that they think that this is closer than I think we think it is. Because I'm still of the mind that we're still a way off.
Yeah, and we've seen in the past where we have traded away our future that it can go badly. So
that is scarring.
Very careful. Very careful.
Sard, Smith, Stringer, Shield. Yeah, we got one left.
Bomber Boy. Thank you, Bomber Boy.
Boys, fantastic win. Great to get the win. But, jeez, they love cutting it close, don't they? 8 points in the end, after leading by 30 at three-quarter time. Such an Essendon thing to do. You just knew that the Swans were going to come back. You just knew it. Great to get the win, though. Crossing every bit of fingers and toes that Lewis Hayes' injury isn't too bad. We seem to be cursed at the moment with these injuries. But anyway, up the plains.
Up the plains indeed. Sadly, it's an ACL.
It's a season-ending ACL. We'll see him next June.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go to the next one. This is Nick Thick Martin.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time hot taker. This Brad Scott business of trying to just shut the game down for entire quarters or halves when we have a lead and just defend and not attack is really shitting me. I'm happy that we've won 5 out of the last 6, but I feel like most of those I'm less happy than I should be because it ends up going down to the wire when it didn't need to. With that said, lots to like. Thought we looked fucking sick in the first half. And also, I just wanted to know what is the track ID on that banging techno Essendon remix that plays before hot takes, because I need to be able to put that on after the game to celebrate with my friends.
There we go. Now, I'm actually not sure because I know that Checkers, DJ Checkers from Marmalade, who gave us that, I know he has his own remixes of all the club songs, but I'm not sure if that is his version. So John, who made that for us, I am not sure if he used that version or if he's made his own version. So, John, if you can clear that up for us and let us know if that's something you've done or something you've found elsewhere and then done the voiceover over the top, we'd love to know. And I guess maybe send us a copy and we can send it to Nick, because I've got Nick Thick Martin's real name and email address here, so I can just send him a copy.
Yeah, I'd love to chuck that on my Spotify to get me up for my early Monday morning.
Yeah. I'm in Reid of a feed.
Yeah, g'day. I just want to put in an order. I've got a drink, some chippies, and what burgers have you got? Have you got anything with maybe some beetroot, pineapple, some onion, bit of bacon? Yeah, that sounds nice. Oh, what's that called? The lot? Yeah, go on, give us the lot. Oh, it's been a long wait, boys, but fuck, Zach Reid looks good. Up the mighty plains.
That is a reference to something from God, it feels like a long time ago when we used to call Zach Reid the lot.
The lot,
because he was the best of the lot. That was what we used to say on this show. Because, like I said, someone said to me that he was, and I said, okay, I believe you.
I just got to admit, I'm dangerously hungry for a burger now. Though.
Yeah, I know. There's a very conveniently placed McDonald's on my drive home from this studio.
Dangerous.
And there's been a few dangerous nights where I'm just like, oh, McChicken before bed?
Ooh. Extra mayo.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, that's the trick. Yeah, 2 dad bods talking to each other.
I know,
right? Next one. The hangar's cursed because it's built on a sacred burial ground. Thank you.
I don't know what made me cringe more. An Essendon player getting another knee injury, Sydney almost coming back in the last quarter, or Rob's multiple retakes of his own Essendon Mambo number 5 song. Whoa!
It's true.
Just sending shivers up my spine. But a win's a win, and we're in the 8. Fuck you, Sydney. Go Dogs.
That had to get a big dog up here right there.
Yeah, we were in the 8, but now we're 9th. My attempts at doing an Essendon Mambo number 5 on the Thursday pod were very poor, I must say. Very poor. I had fun. I don't know if any of our premium listeners did, but I enjoyed.
All that matters, though.
I enjoyed myself, and that's what matters. That is what matters. I choose you. Thank you.
5-3, baby. Yeah.
Is that Jesse?
That could be
the
Jesse.
Train's back on the tracks.
That
I think
could be Jesse.
He's been talking to the commission about that one.
Yep. This is Double Dog. Thank you, Double Dog.
All I want to say is Zed Reid. What a fucking hero. I bought his badge.
Sick.
Haven't bought a badge in 25 years. I'm in love. Zach Reid.
Can I say, we saw on the way out of the ground, if you recall, the line at the merch shop after the game.
Yes.
There was chaos.
Yeah.
People were like, I've got to get on this now.
I specifically said to you, I'm like, I find it really unique that people buy merch afterwards.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I'll see what kind of game this is and then I'll get a scarf.
Yeah.
But I got to admit now, I'm kind of sitting back going, I wouldn't mind getting a few badges.
Yeah, I don't have enough badges. I mean, that's what we could
really doll this place up with some badges.
Yeah, I'm getting some bobbleheads because I think they look really funny.
Yeah.
So to go along with the really creepy Russian dolls behind me.
Well, there's definitely a Harrison Jones and a Sam Draper, so we definitely have to talk about that.
Yep. Next one's from Stephen Wright. Thank you, Stephen.
Hell. Let me tell you something, boys. I've seen plenty of baths on the footy field. I've seen plenty of blokes get given a bath. I remember Treebeard giving Old Gold one. Still one of the best games I've ever been to. But I don't think I've ever seen a player give himself a bath before. Aaron Francis had a full-on scrub. He got every nook and cranny of that bath. How he missed the sitter of the century in front of goal, I'll never know. Fair dinkum could have kicked it with his doodle. Up the Plains.
Quality use of the word doodle there.
I can't fathom how poorly Aaron Francis slept that night.
Oh, no. Poor Franger. He was a really good kid. Oh, well. This one is from Rick Springfield. Thank you, Rick.
Jesse's got a train. Yeah, I know it derails sometimes. But lately something's changed and the bombers are fine. Jesse's got himself a train and I want to take a ride. And he's walking up and down those aisles. And he's thinking about finals footy, I just know it. And he's thinking about Archie Perkins late at night. You know, I wish I was on Jesse's train. I wish I was on Jesse's train. Where can I get an Equinox shirt?
That was very good.
I love that.
That was very good.
I'm going to get a copy of that.
Yeah, that could be take of the week right there. Gee, that's a segment we could do. Someone wants to sponsor that. Take of the week.
Take of the week. Yeah. And also if we can get Metro behind Jesse's train.
Yeah, Metro PTV.
PTV, come on, they're not... I mean, they need some good news.
They need some good press.
They need some good positive press. PTV, get on board.
A stable train like Jesse's finals train. That's something they can get behind.
It's about as consistent.
Exactly. Dylan from Brizzy. Thank you, Dylan.
It only took nearly 2 seasons. But Ben Mackay can apparently play football for Essendon. He's no Zach Reid. He's no Zach Reid. She's no Zach Reid. He'll never be Zach Reid. Fuck yeah, up the Plains.
Dylan's had the really unfortunate thing here where he's sending a hot take right after someone who sent through a really good musical one, because I reckon if that was played after to someone making a question or having a comment, I feel like we wouldn't have realised how poorly that was sung.
You know what I do?
Sorry, Dylan.
I like the confidence though. You know, it's all about swagger.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's real bloke in a shed by himself vibes, which we're all about on this show.
Yes,
we're all about that. Yep. Kids are asleep. I'm going to go in the shed and I'm going to send it a hot take.
I thought it was sort of it's kind of like quiet, like toilet vibes.
Oh yeah, I could see.
Had a little bit of the acoustics.
Yep. Okay. This is a bald teenager. When it loads, good old internet. Let's refresh the page and talk amongst yourself, everyone. Let's try again. A bald teenager.
I started going bald at 17. That is exactly why. Up the Plains.
There you go. It's true. It's true.
Well, that was nice to hear.
This is Nico and Mel, or Nico and Mel.
Look, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think if I said flag dollars 25, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's coming home, boys.
You're not the pies.
That's my missus. She goes for the pies, but I love her. But yeah. Shut up, Melissa. Maybe we get on now. Love you, boys. Up the fucking plains.
That, mate, that's my personal take of the week. That is as good as it gets. Shut up, Melissa.
Shut up, Melissa. Great. Love that. All right. Fuck, that was funny.
That was good.
Next one's from Saxon. Thank you, Saxon.
The equinox has struck again. He took care of Clary earlier in the year, and now he's taking care of that pisshead fuck Isaac Heaney. Otherwise, I thought the defence all played well. Zach Reid was really good. Andrew McGrath, Aaron Francis for once managed to prevent goals from occurring in an Essendon game. Up the fucking plains. We're in the 8. Let's go.
That was very funny.
I do love all these takes that it's like a blast from the past because like we are 9th now.
Yeah.
But it's just Aaron Francis. He's never been more popular.
This is the most popular he's ever been.
Can I also just throw in that on the day, the weirdest thing that happened was this is a guy, Aaron Francis. As fans, we were begging for him to leave the club. He puts on a Swans jersey. He grabs the ball. A bunch of people started booing him. Shouldn't you be cheering him for fucking off?
I know. I have no bad blood with him.
No bad blood. He can get paid $600,000 to do less at Sydney.
Yeah, we I'm pretty sure we pushed him out. It was pretty much like, please go play for another club.
Emotionally, I've left this in the past.
Yeah, but no, there's clearly some faithful there in the members area who weren't happy. But anyway, this is Rob and Old Gold Ruck Tandem. Interesting one.
Boys, great win. Good stuff. It's always good to see a solid turnout like that as well at the game. Bit of a sour taste in the mouth after seeing Lewis Hayes go down in his debut AFL game. But I was thinking when I was walking back to Southern Cross Station, I did see old mate Rob on his way back, and he was in front of me about 5-10 metres. I'm like, far out. He's taller than I expected. I reckon you could probably jump into some key defensive position, or I don't know, maybe even rucking duty, seeing as we're lacking there. Thoughts?
I mean, Rob, are you going to put your hand up?
Yeah, put my hand up to ruck. I mean, look, the unfortunate thing is that for AFL standards, I'm short because I'm what you would call, I have the frame of a flimsy halfback flanker in AFL terms.
If you're short, what the hell does that make me?
Yeah, because I would be probably just shy of 6'1". I'm definitely not going to be able to ruck at that level.
Oh, come on!
But
you pinch it.
But look, if you define players as sort of inside or outside players, I'm outside the stadium. That's where I usually do my best work.
You're underselling yourself. Yeah. What people don't understand is you have an extraordinary leap.
It's true.
Those barriers at Southern Cross had nothing on you.
No, it's true.
It was like a steeplechase.
Yeah, I know. People like Michael Jordan, Rob, just airtime.
Yeah, I did nearly lose you in the crowd, and I was like, why isn't he holding my hand? I definitely need someone to take care of me. I got pushed out of the way.
This is Sweet Sam Durham or Durham.
Sweet Sam Durham. Sweet Sam Durham.
There we go. Beautiful.
Just one note for everyone. You can put the music up just a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can put it up a little bit more because you've all got beautiful voices. It's coming through.
Yeah.
I just want to hear that backtrack just a little bit more.
Yeah. This is Huge or Huge.
Hey guys, long time listener, even longer suffering Dons fan and first time hot taker. It's the morning after last night's wins. I've just got a couple of thoughts about the game. First off, I am a straight man, but if Zachary could have my kids, that would be awesome. He's going to be an absolute star, and I can't wait to see how he progresses in the next couple of years. Secondly, we didn't just leave it all up to our captain to do everything this time, which was really nice to see. Whole team stood up, even the usual whipping boys, McGrath, Pryor, Mackay, all had reasonably good games. And third of all, don't we just fucking love beating Sydney? Like, I seriously hate those blokes. And yeah, to anyone who says we haven't progressed under Brad Scott, shut up. Go Plans.
That was good.
No, and I think he's right about Sydney. They've become a modern irritation. So they've really come up in the rivalry stakes for at least Essendon fans, I think.
Yeah, they're not definitely our number one, nor do I think they would consider us that. But there's always been a little bit of spice in that game for the last few years.
Yeah.
I said to you during the game, and I said this when we were 30 something points up. I was like, I kind of wish Tom Papley was playing because he makes the game exciting and interesting from both ends, whether he's kicking goals or he's just trying to start brawls.
Didn't need it in the end.
Didn't need him in the end, but yeah. Anyway, this one's from Timothy. Thank you, Timothy.
Roses are red, violets have blue pigments. We're never going to get bloody anywhere if we keep rupturing our anterior cruciate ligaments.
That's very good. Jeez, I didn't know where that one was going.
Oh, we love some poetry corner here on the Sash, and that was very, very good. Now, Ryan.
Yep.
Lurker has not sent one through, and I'm worried. I'm worried about the man.
Should we contact the authorities?
We should contact the authorities that the lurker is missing, because usually by close to 9 p.m. on a Monday, the lurker has sent some through. So I'm going to give you an option here. We can listen to Rick Springfield again, which was a really good song, or we can listen to Shut Up Melissa again. So what would you like? You've got a 50-50 choice here.
Let's go out on a song.
We go out on the song. We'll listen to the song one more time. Let's go again.
Jesse's got a train. Yeah, I know it derails sometimes, but lately something's changing. The bombers are fine. Jesse's got himself a train, and I want to take a ride. And he's walking up and down those aisles, and he's thinking about finals footy, I just know it. And he's thinking about Archie Perkins late at night. I wish I was on Jesse's train. I wish I was on Jesse's train. Where can I get an Equinox shirt?
It's still good.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you very much for sending that one through. Ryan, that is going to wrap us up for an evening. Thank you very much for coming in. Good to see you again after hanging out on Saturday. Final thoughts?
Good to be winning. That's all that matters at the moment. And, what will be. But, getting these wins is awesome at the moment, and it's keeping me sane.
Yeah, enjoy it, faithful. As we've learnt time and time again that the wheel will turn again. Sometimes it does feel like we might be just at the high point of the Essendon roller coaster before it starts to come down the other side. But look, let's enjoy the wins. Let's enjoy being up and about and hope that the good vibes can continue.
Go Plains.
Go Plains.